Have you ever stopped to think about what a company really is? I mean, we hear the word 100 times a day, but the actual concept behind it, it's genuinely one of the most powerful inventions in all of human history. So let's pull back the curtain and see what's actually going on.
To really get why companies even exist, we first have to understand the huge problem they were designed to solve. And you know what? It all boils down to one simple, powerful word: risk.
Just imagine this for a second. You've got a game-changing idea. You're all fired up to start a business, but you're also terrified, right? What happens if it fails? What if you rack up a ton of debt? Could you actually lose your house, your car, everything you've worked for? That fear is paralyzing. And for centuries, it stopped countless amazing ideas from ever getting off the ground.
But what if there was a way to split the two? To create a kind of legal shield that could protect your personal world from all the risks of your business world? Well, that's the exact problem that the modern company was created to solve.
The solution they came up with, honestly, it was a stroke of legal genius. The idea was, instead of you personally running the business, you could create something totally new, something the law would recognize as its very own entity.
And here it is, the core definition. A company is a legal entity, separate and distinct from its owners. You have to let those last 6 words sink in, because they change everything. It means the company is not you, and you are not the company.
This is the big idea you gotta remember. The law literally treats a properly formed company as if it were a person. It gets its own legal identity, completely separate from the people who started it or own it.
And this visual just makes it so clear, doesn't it? On one side, you got your personal life, your house, your car, your savings. On the other, you have the business with its own office, its own equipment, and, this is key, its own debts. That line right down the middle, that's a legal wall. If things go south at the business, creditors can only go after what the company owns. That separation is the whole foundation.
And this brilliant separation leads us straight to the most powerful feature of a company, what we call the liability shield. You've probably heard it called limited liability.
Let's use a super simple example. Let's say you invest $5,000 of your own money to get your company started. That's your initial contribution. And here is the magic. That $5,000, that's it. That is the absolute most you can personally lose if the business completely fails. Your liability is limited to whatever you put in. Your house, your car, they're safe.
So you can see how this shield works in the real world. The owners, we call them shareholders, they're not on the hook for the company's debts. Their personal stuff is protected. This also creates a really important separation of roles. You've got directors who actually run the company day to day, and then you have shareholders who are the ultimate owners.
Okay, so we've got this separate legal person that protects its owners. That's cool. But how do you actually own a piece of it? Well, that's where something called share capital comes into play. Basically, the company's total value, or its capital, is chopped up into these tiny equal units called shares. The easiest way to think about it is like a pizza. The whole pizza is the company's value, and the shares are just the slices.
And you can see how this works out. Maybe you and your co-founders start the company and you each take 40% of the shares, or 40% of the pizza. Then an early investor comes along, puts in some cash, and they get the last 20%. Just like that, everyone's slice of the ownership pie is perfectly clear.
And hey, owning these shares isn't just for show. It gives you real power. It gives you the right to vote on big company decisions and, maybe even more importantly, the right to get a piece of the profits, which we call dividends.
Now, as you probably know, not all companies are created equal. The 2 main types you're going to run into are private and public companies, and they've got some really important differences. Let's just break down the key differences here. A private company is, well, private. It has a pretty small, limited number of owners, and it can't just sell its shares to anybody on the street. A public company, on the other hand, can have thousands, even millions of shareholders, because it can sell its shares on a stock exchange. A little tip? You can often tell them apart just by the name. Private companies will usually have private limited at the end. So how does this legal person actually spring to life? I mean, it doesn't just appear out of thin air, right? There's a formal process you have to go through to create one. It's a pretty clear 4-step deal. You file all the official paperwork with the government, you pay the registration fees, and in return, you get this document called the Certificate of Incorporation. Think of that certificate as the company's official birth certificate. The second it's issued, poof, the company legally exists as its own person. So when you boil it all down, it comes back to this one powerful thought. The idea of a company being a person might just be a legal trick, a legal fiction.
But it's a fiction that has unlocked a staggering amount of real-world innovation, all by making it safer for people to take big risks.
So why does any of this matter to you? Because this simple legal structure is the engine that powers our entire modern economy. It allows people to pool their money together, invest in huge ideas, and drive growth on a scale that would be totally impossible otherwise.
And that leaves us with one final and really important question to think about. We've established that the law treats a company like a person, giving it rights to own things and sign contracts. But what about the other side of that coin? If it has the rights of a person, what responsibilities does it have to the rest of us, to society? That's something worth thinking about.